Guys, first things first, I want you to know I was the worst coach in America. Yep. In 2016, we were dead last in the FCS when I was at the University of Northern Colorado. We played in the Big Sky at the Division I FCS level. We were dead last in America at creating turnovers. Dead last. Two interceptions, one interception by the defensive backs, wasn't even a safety, which is what I coached. And we were dead last in America in turnovers overall. Okay, guys, I told the players after the season, listen, I am the worst coach in America at teaching you how to create turnovers. You are the worst safeties in America at creating turnovers, and we are the worst group at creating turnovers. And until we accept that fact, we will continue to be the worst or get worse. Okay, so we had to accept that, and I did that right before Christmas break, and I went on a binge, all right, of personal growth. Guys, being the worst coach in America and being able to admit it was the best thing that ever happened to me in my coaching career. All right. And guys, it's okay. Like some of us, we don't want to admit it. I didn't want to admit it at first, but it's okay to admit. And that's the best thing you can do. And the most powerful thing you can say to your players is I screwed that up. Okay. So what I learned, guys, lesson number 1, success leaves clues. All right. And I promise I'm going to get to turnovers here in a second, but success leaves clues. You got to reach out to those people who are good at what you want to learn. Guys, I wrote down every single defense in America that was good at the things we were bad at. All right. Not every single defense, but the top 10 at NAIA, D2, D3, FCS, FBS, everybody, right? Sometimes I went to the top 15 and I emailed, called, texted, got a hold of, tried to get a hold of every single one of those schools in turnovers, rush defense, third down defense, red zone defense, total defense, everything that I could, guys. So I ended up making a lot of calls, a lot of text messages, a lot of reaching out. Guys, the next thing I learned, you got to use what you learned. Spoiler alert, what I learned and what I'm about to show you guys and teach you guys helped us jump right around 90 spots. I want to say it was like 95 spots in national rankings in 1 year. Okay, we went from worst and then we jumped 90 teams in the FCS to be, one of the top teams. Okay, guys, the next thing I learned, you got to do the legwork of watching film to find out exactly, actually what is the problem. Like we think that we have problems and we think this is the problem, but we don't do the legwork and put in the elbow grease to really watch all of the plays. For example, can anybody in the chat or just unmute yourself, how many fumbles did your team cause this year? Like I'll call on somebody if I don't get an answer. Anybody? How about Kyle Griffin? One of my players named Kyle Griffin. Kyle, how many fumbles you guys caused?
We were probably 10 at the most, maybe. 10,
great. This year, we in 2016, we caused exactly 10, okay? What really caused each one? And this is a rhetorical question, but I want everybody to think, what really caused these fumbles? Was it the fact, did you just wrap him up and the dude dropped the ball? Did you actually punch the ball out? Did he intentionally strip the ball, right? Because in this season, we had 0 intentionally stripped fumbles. And what I noticed was if you play about 800 plays, you're going to stumble on 10 fumbles, no matter what. And the more I looked back, we were causing fumbles, but we weren't really causing them. They're called forced fumbles, but we weren't really forcing anything, right? They were just happening, all right? But the ultimate lesson that I learned out of all this, reaching out to all these coaches, the top 10 teams in turnovers, interceptions, forced fumbles, recovered fumbles, okay? All those teams, and some of them were top 15. Some of them were just in the top. I mean, I can't tell you how many hundreds, guys, hundreds of calls, hundreds of people in 1 year. Guys, the ultimate lesson that I learned, turnovers are a result of consciousness. Now you say, Coach, what is consciousness? And guys, I'm all about going back to the dictionary. You want to define something, you really want to understand it, you got to look at the dictionary. What does the word mean, all right? Definition of consciousness, the quality or state of being aware, especially of something within oneself. The state of fact or a fact of being conscious of an external object, state, or fact. C, awareness. Guys, C, awareness. All right. Turnover consciousness, guys. So it's a turnover awareness. Like at all times, when you have that situation, that opportunity to create a turnover, their brains have to be aware of it. And if they're not going to cause those fumbles. They're not going to intercept those passes. They're not going to do the things that are going to multiply your turnovers. Guys, to create turnovers at a high level, this is what I learned from these guys, okay? The players and coaches must be aware of the opportunities to create them every time they pop up. Not sometimes, not, oh, it looked like it was good there. Every time, everybody's got to be like a hound on a scent. You guys understand me? The more I talk, literally over 100 guys, I'm not kidding you, over 100, all right? Coaches about turnovers, I noticed the guys who created a lot, because I also called the guys that were at the bottom. What did you do? Tell me. People want to talk about what they did, guys. And sometimes you got to find out what people are doing wrong to find out what's the difference between what's going right. Okay, not just your own experience. But I talked to literally over 100 coaches about turnovers. Notice these guys who create a lot were building this awareness all the time. Guys, not sometimes, not on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, but not on Thursdays. Guys, all the freaking time. They were relentless about it, even in the meeting room. So turnovers in meetings, man. So Coach Hammer at Oklahoma State, good friend of mine, one of the guys I reached out to, he was kind enough to let me come down for a couple days. Guys, he begins every meeting with second man in strip drills. Guys, how do we practice? We tag off. We never tackle. We tag off on the running back. How many times when you tag off on the running back are you practicing being the second man in and stripping the ball out? But what do we tell our players in a 4-minute drill? We tell them to strip the ball out, right? Second man in, strip the ball, get the ball back. But how many times do we actually rep it? So we're telling our guys the most important part of the game, right? 4-minute drill, that they need to strip the ball and do something they've never done. Would we just run a defense we've never done? We've done one time to win the game? I don't think so, but we're asking the kids to do that. So that's why he starts the meetings with it, because now he's getting reps every single day at these 2 drills, all right? The first one is pin and rip, all right? So I'm gonna scoot back to my screen. You guys can see me, like pin and rip, all right? If a ball carrier is holding a ball high and tight, or he's wrapped up, guys, a pin and rip is you're gonna pin the elbow down. See how it moves my hand away from my chest? Because, dude, high and tight, guys, that's a sound technique. You're not going to punch the ball out of high and tight. That's why running back coaches teach it, okay? But if you push the elbow down, you're going to pin with one hand and you're going to rip, right? Pin and rip the ball, the point of the ball and the hand away from the body, the ball will come out. Does that make sense? That's the pin and rip. The second technique, so every kid, and I do it at the start of all of my meetings, guys, pin and rip. And the kids come up and there's a bag of footballs at the front of my meeting room. They come up, they pin and rip, and they do one on each arm. Then they go to the next one, which is pull and punch. So now we got high and tight, everything's sound, right? They get their 4, 5, 3, whatever points of pressure that coach teaches, and they're gonna pull the elbow up. One hand pulls up, the other hand punches through. Does that make sense? Pull and punch. All right, self-explanatory. But those are the 2 techniques. Each kid gets 1 rep on each arm, each way, every day, and they switch partners. They put the ball back in the bag. And that's how they start meetings. So that way your kids aren't just watching you set up meetings, they're actually doing things. Because if you take 5 minutes out of meetings to set stuff up, right? 5 minutes, 5 times a week, that's 25 minutes a week. Guys, 25 minutes a week you just lost of them just watching you do, like, set up your computer. You guys understand me? So you're making yourself more efficient. All right. So it's like a double whammy. Okay. Guys, my DC, that after we had the worst year and we were the worst coaches in America creating turnovers, my DC had me put together a 5-minute presentation every day in front of the unit. And we called it turnover consciousness. Okay. And it was during training camp, and then we extended it during the season. So every day the kids got hit with a little 5-minute instructional, fun lesson about turnovers. All right, guys. Stuff like, and all stuff we threw in, guys, he wanted stats, in which I delivered on. How much turnover margin affects wins. Outside of special teams, big plays, the next most indicative stat of a win or a loss is turnover margin, okay? Guys, how stats on pick sixes. How many times, what's the percentage of times you win a game if you get a pick six? Do you know? Does anybody know? Have you watched all the games that you've played and counted all the pick sixes? And did you win or lose? Guys, the percentage is unbelievable. And I want you to do the research yourself, just like I had to do. I had to go back and watch all the games. I watched our opponents' games. Anytime there was a pick six in a game against our team that we had in the last 4 or 5 years, I went and counted them. How many times did that team win the game, right? Why are turnovers so important? What do they do? We get the ball, but if you give your offense an extra 2 drives a game, how much does that raise scoring percentage? What is field position like? If you get a turnover, where do you get turnovers on average? Guys, it's within the 45, like your own 45. And you know what the scoring percentage is when you get the ball there? It's ridiculous. So those are things that you can throw in front of the kids' faces that you can look up yourself and say, this is what it's true for us. This is the stats for us. This is the percentage for us. Does that make sense? And that's what I'm talking about, the elbow grease. Now,